Sure, you know all about those big-time name-brand sports like football and soccer, or basketball and baseball. You might know your share about cricket and rugby as well, but have you ever settled down to enjoy a match of extreme ironing, chess boxing, or shin kicking? If those games sound unfamiliar, join us now as we check out 25 of the world's craziest sports. 25. Moustache growing. Do you think we're making this one up? The World Beard and Moustache Association holds championships on a biennial basis. In these competitions, gentlemen with beards and moustaches display facial hair that can be finely styled and quite lengthy. Competitive brackets include moustache, partial beards, and full beard. 24. Cheese rolling. This event takes place annually near Gloucester in England. A round of double Gloucester cheese is rolled down from the top of Cooper's Hill, then competitors start running down the hill after it. The winner is the first person to cross the finish line at the bottom. The 9-pound cheese can roll pretty fast, reaching speeds up to 70 miles an hour. 23. Pooh sticks. First mentioned in a Winnie the Pooh book by A.A. Milne. In this very simple game, you choose your stick and then you stand with the other players who are standing on a bridge located over a running water. Then you drop your sticks together on the upstream side of the bridge, then everyone runs to the other side of the bridge, and the winner is whoever's first discovers their stick on the downstream side of the bridge. See, we said it was simple. 22. Bouzkisi. Once you understand the sport, it's easy to see why this word means goat pulling in Persian. Played in Central Asia, this game is pretty simple. Players on horseback ride in a full gallop to grab the carcass of a goat, which is pitched into a goal. The game was spread westward from China by the nomadic Turkic peoples between the 10th and 15th century. Today, it's the national sport of Afghanistan. 21. Botashi. The term roughly translates to pole pull down, and this Japanese sport is not unlike capture the flag. There are two teams, each comprised of 150 players. The teams are divided into 75 attackers and 75 defenders. The teams attempt to pull down the pole of their opponent, and then they win the match, but only if the pole was lowered to a 30-degree angle. 20. Gaga ball. Related to dodgeball, this sport originated in Israel and uses only one ball. The object is to remain the last player standing, and that involves jumping, running, striking, and of course, dodging. Unlike dodgeball, this game is played within an octagon called a Gaga pit, and a player must be struck below the knees to be considered out. For the record, we couldn't find any connection between this sport and Lady Gaga. 19. Worm charming. Yes, this is considered a completely legit sport in the UK. In fact, a championship has been held annually in Cheshire since 1980. In order to charm those earthworms from the ground, a means of vibration must be used to coax them out. Many competitive worm charmers will stamp their feet to produce the vibrations. After being given a patch of land, contestants they will do what they must to produce as many worms as possible within an hour. 18. Conker smashing. First off, let's establish what the conker is. It's a nut that is produced by a horse chestnut tree. They're tied into a knot and then threaded onto a string. The players take turns trying to strike at the other's nut until it finally shatters. Conker players have gathered in Northamptonshire, England for the World Conker Smashing Competition. You get up to 5,000 spectators arrive from around the world to watch 400 players attempt to shatter each other's nuts. 17. Ski bobbing. Here you can indulge two winter sports with a snowboarding and skiing mashup. Instead of wheels, bicycle tape frames have skis attached onto it along with a set of foot skis. While it looks pretty extreme, this type of apparatus was first painted in 1892 and has long been a means of transportation in the Alps. The first international races were held in the 1950s, and ski bobbing has become a popular winter sport in its own right. 16. Cannon pop, also called rabbit jumping. This sport sounds little like an equestrian event, except it's for rabbits. It all started in Sweden in the early 16th century, and rules were initially inspired by horse jumping. They were later changed to better suit the smaller animals. Essentially, the bunnies are trained to navigate straight or crooked courses and perform high jumps and long jumps. 15. Pacer polo. Similar in some regards of North American's baseball, it's a bat and ball sport which involves vertical pitching. That makes hitting the ball much easier. Because of that, the game tends to play at a faster pace and gives the offense more variety and tactical options than traditional baseball. 14. Ferret legend. From the sound of this one, you could either take it as a stunt or maybe a sort of endurance test. This so-called sport seems to have originated in Yorkshire in England among coal miners there. Ferrets were strapped in pants worn by participants, and the winner was whoever was the last one to receive the critters. Did you know that the world record is among 5.5 hours? Poor ferret, right? 13. Mountain unicycling. If you think riding a unicycle is difficult, try riding a muni or mountain unicycle. If you're the daring sort, by all means take your trusted muni and embark on an adventure that covers all sorts of rugged terrain. You'll need some additional skills beyond of that of a mountain biker, which strength and balance is the top of the list. Remember, you have to go down the mountain by the same way you got up there. 12. Man v horse. Competitors in Wales line up every June to race a horse to the finish line over some 22 miles. For the record, it might be as accurate to say that the runners actually compete against riders on a horseback. It is said that the sport's origins harken back to 1980. That's when a local landlord overheard a discussion in a pub as to whether a man could outrace a horse. The landlord decided to find out, and the race was on. 11. Bob snorkeling. Hailing from the United Kingdom, competitors are compelled to swim through 120 yards of water-filled trenches cut into a peat bog in the shortest amount of time as possible. It's more difficult than it sounds. Flippers and snorkels must be worn, and conventional swimming strokes are not allowed. You can only rely on the power of your flippers to complete the course. 10. Cardboard tube dueling. If you think this sounds made up, consider this. The Cardboard Tube Fighting League, the CTFL, is a global entity that hosts tournaments where warriors using cardboard tubes have at it. The object is to break the opponent's tube without breaking your own. Cardboard costumes are also encouraged, as they are theatrics. 9. Extreme ironing. Have you ever taken part in a game that combines the exhilarations of extreme sports with the benefits of a well-pressed shirt? If not, you could give this sport a try. Participants basically take ironing boards to remote locations like mountainsides and forests and proceed to iron clothing. Such performances have also taken place underwater and while parachuting. 8. Kite tubing. Here's a vibrant of towel tubing that's taken off as a sport, but there are a few dangers. Tube towels on the water can become airborne and become a kite. Whether flight can be maintained is irrelevant on a couple of factors, including the tube's size and shape, the speed at which they are travelling, and the weight of the rider. It can lead to a deadly crash. Nearly 40 injuries and 2 deaths have been reported in regard to kite tubing. 7. Helion Todd Regatta. This event is held annually on the sandy bed of Alice Springs Todd River in Australia. Around 20 teams compete in this dry boat race each year. The boats are constructed from metal frames, and the rowers are more like runners who navigate their vessels across the hot sand. Interesting note, it's the world's only dry river regatta. As such, it's also the only regatta that has ever cancelled due to flooding. 6. Underwater hockey. In the UK, its limited contact sport is also known as octopush. Similar to ice hockey, 2 teams attempt to control a puck. In this case, the puck is underwater, at the bottom of a swimming pool. Teams compete to move the puck with their hockey sticks, or pushers, into the opposing team's goal. 5. Basketball. Add in the fact that you play on an inflatable course with trampolines on either side of the net, you've got basketball. It originated in Spain, but the name is often linked to the Brazilian-Portuguese bossa nova, and that fits in with basketball's mission of combining sport, music, and positive vibes. Number 4. Quidditch. 2 teams comprised of 7 players each play on a pitch that is the size of a hockey rink while mounted onto a broomstick. The gameplay is somewhat reminiscent of dodgeball and tag. It is based on a game of the same name in the Harry Potter universe. To distinguish the live-action version from the fiction counterpart, this version of the game is sometimes called Muggle Quidditch. 3. Chess boxing. So here's an excellent union between brain and brawn. Chess boxing involves the cerebral, strategic game with the sweet science of pugilism. The hybrid game play out over 11 rounds, 6 rounds of chess and 5 rounds of boxing, while alternating. Participants must be well versed in both games and can win by knockout, checkmate, or an opponent's resignation. 2. Wife carrying. The idea is of the guy to carry her through an obstacle track in the shortest time possible. Several styles of carrying are allowed, including piggyback and the fireman's carry, or over the shoulder. The World's Championships are held annually in Finland, where the sport was introduced. Number 1. Shin Kicking. It's a brutal contact sport wherein 2 contestants basically bash each other onto the shins as they attempt to kick their opponent to the curb. Its origins can be traced to the 17th century, and the tradition was carried to by both British immigrants to the US. As you might have guessed, success in this sport is largely dependent on the player's capacity to endure pain.